it's absolutely wonderful and exciting to see everyone here. And want to start out myself just by saying, to some people, it probably feels a little bit like a memorial for Eric Muller, but it's really not. It's a poetry reading, and Eric is here reading. He's just not able to be here physically, so his poems will go through our various bodies. And let me read Eric's bio, that's if I can see it. So Eric has been a poet for 60 years. Most of them live in Oregon. He's been engaged in local poetry as an editor, publisher, essayist, and self-published poet. He is edited Fireweed Poetry of Western Oregon and Trap Rock Books, Durable Goods, which features Oregon poets, and is from Mountains and Rivers Press. I need new eyes. But I wanted to start myself by reading one of Eric's poems from one of his books. The wonderful thing about Eric is that he self-published these books, but not out of vanity, the way people say vanity press. No, he did it out of generosity and gave his books away to us, and they were fantastic art. Okay, this is by Eric Muller. Chrysanthemums. I put out 5 pots of chrysanthemums for color, for hardiness. Gray to hold fresh, white, ruddy, bronze, purple in the face of cold rain, then bitter cold after rain. Later, if I were to deadhead them, all 5 would show deep green. Yet I am done working in the garden. Let chrysanthemums show me the way. By Eric Muller. So, our next and first physical reader here is Scott Muller. And I'm going to read an introduction that he wrote himself. So this is Scott speaking. I have been a poet since before I could spell. I've always been curious, watching, listening, touching, sniffing. Poetry is how I understand the world. I take risks with themes that can be uncomfortable and humor that sometimes fails. For most of my 74 years, I have published collections. On the Way to Water is one. But I'm not moved by that goal. Writing for myself and reading aloud for others is what satisfies me. The generous support and encouragement of my late friend Eric Muller is the reason I am drawn to this poetry community. Welcome, Scott Muller.
Thank you. What a wonderful opportunity and privilege to read. Oh, particularly in a place where poetry is not only allowed but welcomed, and where it's welcome to be out loud. I grew up in a home where poetry was treated much like flatulence. They knew it existed, but it was best handled quietly and privately. So I think with that, it's really important to, I want to thank Joan and Erica and Lane Literary Guild, the people who make this possible, and the people in the past, my friend Eric, Howard Robertson, others who made a point of James Otter, all the people, there's a whole range of people in this community who say poetry should be out loud, and for a good reason. I think Eric would appreciate a Bizarro comic I cut out. There's a picture of a dog hanging over the fence of a yard, and the sign says, "Be aware of dog." And the dog is saying, "I'm not dangerous, I just appreciate the occasional nod of acknowledgement." So we get to hang out the "Be aware of poet" sign here. We just like a little acknowledgement. It's nice to have that. I'm mostly honored to celebrate poetry. I'm going to read my own later, and Quinn will read her own. But to acknowledge my friend Eric, who I love dearly and has been important in my writing. And what's interesting is I know he's been important to a lot of people's writing. He's been supportive of so many people over the years with his writing. And, you know, I see faces here that are familiar, people I know that he supported. I even see some names on the screen that are people he supported. But, you know, I can't claim I knew Eric better than anyone else. We were close, but Eric had a way of knowing each person in his own private way. We all knew Eric in different ways, had different kinds of relationships with him. But his strongest relationships were about those that encourage poetry. And what maybe some people aren't as aware of, who appreciated Eric's poetry and his support of their poetry is, I see a lot of familiar faces here, and again, I see names up there. We don't see the faces, but I think it's important to know how dearly and supportively and warmly Eric spoke of so many of you. How much he enjoyed your poetry, enjoyed seeing what you were doing. He always was commenting to me when we met very warmly about what other people were up to in poetry, and that he appreciated and what he admired about individuals and what they were writing. I thought, you know, how nice to have something we're all doing that isn't a blood sport. By the way, this is Yes, the Magical Bear, Ephraim the Elephant, and Boot and Robbie are the finger puppets that Eric, were Eric's that he and I often communicated with when we met. So for those of you who don't know that part of Eric, he had a few things he enjoyed doing that Anne begged him never to do at family gatherings. So I'm going to read a few poems from Eric first. Upstairs window. What have I done to deserve this window? Only last night, what I thought was a plane shone and shone in the east, sparkling red and green. My window's open to sky, sleepless. I feel the moon upon me, daylight. I look down at the bustling intersection. Cars in their dance at stop signs proceed in turn. That old man with a walker, even in cold rain. A houseless one with possessions stacked high on the cart. The young woman appears, long skirt, long hair, bursting into skip run, flapping her arms in flight. What have I done to deserve this life? And this is one of my favorite Eric poems from, most of what I'm reading from Eric and what I'll be reading my own, which we've been written in the last year or so. This is one particular one from Eric. Look, I don't want to be good or wise. I don't want to look at you with a face the years make patient like a piece of dried fruit. I care about my own life more than about yours. You know where you are going, so go. Your grace, not mine. Your sanctuary, not mine. I am going to the dark water where my son went for all his suffering. Suffering for what? Failure at love, then dying. It's that water I crave, not water from the tap or your lips smooth as they are. I go down into deep water, dark water, where a current pulls me along, while even in depth and obscurity, I am able to cry, Daniel, Daniel, and Daniel grasps my outstretched hand. The scar along my brother's neck. The scar along my brother's neck, wide and pale, a soft place of breathing, swallowing, being kissed. He mistook the double for a single trailer. His VW tore like paper. 60 years ago, a serviceman stationed in Germany. I still tremble for my brother's wound, for blood and flesh given by our mother and father, with no assurances. As kids, we compare scars with no thought of being marked as survivors of one flesh. This one, even crows die. Even crows die. The parking strip, the feathered body parallel to curve, feet with growths hard as oak galls, erased eyes, white disc, feet pointed south. To lift up a song for a crow? No. Not with our homeless, our immigrants drowned. I bend and stare. I notice what I can. He thought the day would not be long enough. It was. The rain came as a single thing. Its weight slowed the clocks. What was he worrying about? To gather a scatter of feelings and compress it? To apostrophize a woman whose face he had forgotten? To hold a stone in his hand? Or was it an egg? To balance it on the tip of his finger? Early star. There's an early star this first warm night, high off to one side, fire core and fringe. Too ignorant to name it, I never connect the dots. Yet, star, you and I connect tonight. As I lean from the window and strain to look up, we both stand aside in our separate ways, we burn. Gazing at you, I sense a wide, deep silence, a silence into which things enter, from which things emerge. I have no language for it, yet I stare fiercely to forge our constellations. Seeing you, I see through the rest of my years. It will be quiet and far. No doubt, someone will be looking and offering up a name. I've been away from mountains. I've been away from mountains too long in the city's meshes. This year, as I climb Grasshopper Meadow, it will have to be in my mind. I can sit and write, feeling its grass slicked several ways like a boy's hair. No grasshoppers or butterflies. That's what I get for Dally. Before I start the meadow slope, I lean to the pipe that gushes water, running always, never freezing. Here I rinse eyes and ears to see and hear all this. And one final one I'll read for Eric. This is from his trail building work with the scorpions. I don't know, people knew Eric knew how much he loved his engagement with the scorpions, who went out and improved trails for those of us who enjoyed walking without tripping, which is no mean thing. Trail building, North Fork of the Middle Fork, with the scorpion crew. We worked the canyon's dry side, sweating in October, roughing out a trail 100 feet above the river. Grub hose pulling gravel for tread off the steep slope. Across on the canyon's shady side, trees thicker, understory dense. Deep green there, chalky soil here. Our side a rock slide exposing scorpions. Down below, North Fork cuts its groove, saw blading flashing. Another day, we'll work over in the shade, gaze back over at Manzanita, Chinkapin, amaze the different canyon sides. Meet in a stream of water. Then, with the chill of fall, we'll look across to the sun-warmed side. I thank Eric for all he shared. Thank you. Gwen Howland writes and edits from Notide, Oregon. She has 4 chapbooks: Quarry, Shiver, Quench, Slate. Is that right? Shiver, Quench, Slate. Okay. Refuge from Flux, Stranger by the Hour, and a full-length collection, Mrs. Schroeder's Breast. Okay. Recent work appears in journals and anthologies, including World War Journal, The Edge of Fall, December, and Pandemic, poems by Oregon Poetry Association members. She has coordinated a reading series, high school poet visits, and workshops for OPA. Quentin has lived on both coasts and in the Midwest. She's highly ensconced in the Coast Range foothills for 34 years and counting. And that all sounds so sterile, except I've had the privilege of being able to sit and visit with Quentin a little, and I know how much Eric meant to her and how much she meant there. So,
thank you so much, Joan and Erica and Scott. For I just love hearing newer work, really recent work of Eric's, and thank everybody for keeping us all together on Zoom. And here's this chair that Eric would be in right here, is always in the front row. So I can read to him. About 6 months ago, Eric invited me to read with Scott and him for this series, and I said yes. And in July, when Eric told me he was heading out sooner than later, I said, you know, we're reading together in January. And I added, we'll read together one way or the other. With a sly smile and his cat-like composure, Eric said, maybe I'll ghost you. Eric, as promised, Scott and you and I are reading together. And in the front row, there you are. And Anne is right next to you. I think Eric tonight would thank Scott and Herb Everett and Brian, I think it's Brian at Instaprint, for all of their work on making these beautiful books that Eric gave so freely. Friend, poet, citizen of the universe, through his poems and his generous life, he included us in lively discourse. He taught us how to be young or old or older, how to live with loss, with cancer, how to spring away gracefully. He observed, he listened, he related. And would he not smile at parsing the word related? Mike McGriff flags Eric's hallmark generosity. I note Eric's remarks at the back of his 2017 chapbook, You. The poem is an action or transaction between the poet and reader, facilitated by the poem. And like Whitman, I relish, this is Eric, like Whitman, I relish the bridgeability of the pronoun you. A little more on that in a minute. So to that notion of bridgeability, introductions, initiatives, and invitations, fiery, trap rock, self-published books and chapbooks, and numbering in dozens, durable goods to celebrate revered Oregon poets. And these are the legacies that one can hold in the hand and read and reread. I can say that Eric's passion for highlighting voices he admired in his role of publisher and mentor welcomed me to Oregon 34 years ago. And those voices became like dispatches from best friends. Add to those of Eric's involvement that maybe hasn't been mentioned too much, Oregon Poetry Association, Marine Literary Guild, of course. He also, with Jackie Melvin, organized poets visits to Crow High School, to Dinah Galloway's famous class, and that was great. And Jackie Melvin and Craig Gilbert and Eric spawned that. And then he launched the Springfield Library reading series. And the East-West Poet Gathering shared with David Memont. Others have spoken about epic road trips with Eric for trap rock readings. The car time probably more fun than actually selling any books. From Eric's initiatives came involvement among poets across the state and in our own backyards. From Eric's initiatives came invitations to take the baton and run with it. He never just started something and stayed there forever. Thanks to Eric, I continued arranging for poets to visit Crow High School until Dinah Galloway retired. And with Laura LaHue, I helped host the Springfield Library readings twice a year. And that program continued under successive hosts or in this room or Zoom. I think he was truly pleased. He was truly pleased to see all his poets. Poets are out there. He was truly pleased to see all his poets run along in their own direction, allowing him to think up the next bridge between friends and poets and friends. Erica also asked many of us to read with him far and wide. For me, Ashland or North Bend, no matter the size of the audience, whether a packed gallery in Ashland or spouses and library staff and joyful. If hilariously tipsy with the duckings out afterwards for an IPA or two with Eric, I wish I'd worn a wire. He was hilarious, as you all probably know. And just on and on. To come back around, in my 3 decades of encounters with Eric, when we met, there was often an invitation and a gift tucked in his pocket. An invitation to read more deeply a poet he admired, sometimes accompanied by the gift of a title from that poet. The late gift of the collected works of Wallace Stevens and Eric's Guide, a stellar example, will see me out. Perfect meld of Eric's invitation to share his nearly lifelong appreciation of Stevens and my gratitude for Eric as mentor and vibrant friend. And I just want to start reading from Eric. I wanted to make kind of a cento of the titles.
Putting this up a little bit.
Popping.
Is that better?
Listen to the titles as though it was a cento. Confluence, kindling, to the corner and back, for all I know. Steps, a boy's eyes, always, never, never always. Cinnamon of a steady gaze, shattering. Whatever possessed you, it goes without saying. Durable goods. You, river course, Sappho in Ohio, red. And yet, day marks. Yes, please. Who you be? Fuchsia entertainment. Flotilla. For distance and close in, muttering, dreamer. The titles alone, they're choice alone. I just read a few. This is a little chronological. 1996 from Kindling. My idea of home for Craig Gilbert. Twice I saw this place for sale by the Silas Law. Once from the river, once from the road. A house seen from the road is not worth a dozen. Excuse me, a house seen from the road is not worth a dream. It belongs to traffic and passing eyes. They see the barn open to busted mowers and stacks of useless jars, an unpainted mossy barn. Though from the river, this place comes slowly into view, rising and floating like the moon. Its long steps lovely from the river. Above its slope, the prim house sits. Windows on water, need no curtains. Fishermen drift, plumb to their thoughts. Oh, the places I wanted with the gang of someone passing through. The paupers longing. You smile perhaps at my idea of home, whether I arrive by river or by road. This is also Kindling from 96. To name a bird is progress, say Toby. To see it backlit, black, and know it is progress still. To hear it from brush, hear its churred trill, means you can stand with eyes closed and know it. All these achieved, you are closer to home. Just as in your home, you name someone dear, know his stride or stillness, no matter how dim the light. And best of all, with eyes closed, you see him clearly. For all I know, this is closer, 2008, and this poem was written for his good friend Michael Weiss, who had gone on crickets and ants. I have heard how friends approach as crickets and ants, though they are distant or dead. They travel to countertop or bed. Theirs is a mute, earnest toil, almost too frail to be noticed at all. The ant I watch rounding the sink, lone dot, makes me think how much in my long career I do not see and do not hear. Michael, your big voice insisted, Michael, I exist. Though as the party wore on, you retired silent. Some cold night by my doorsill, a mendicant cricket will ring its bell. And then this one just attached to that cricket. On a rainy afternoon, a shadow in a shadow, bird shifting in a tree. Not you, you would not be out in this weather. Eric had, he loved the monochromes of Janis Rizos. If you don't know them, they're just wonderful. They're kind of one-liners, and Eric's collection of his own on a single string comes from Rizos. What rhapsodies the youthful old man played for us on a single string. So there's dozens of these. I'll just pick a few. The moon is at the end of the street and is coming our way. My God, how that cicada clung to my chest. He does not question her questions or answer her answer. Look, I'm a dumb shit. That's it. How to be a good friend in an ocean of few examples. And then, I say I am the sweet boy I was, but I know a lie when I hear one. Sun, Yoon, imprint this page, guide my right hand. And yeah, this is from Shadowing in 2014. You could sing a song about me, Eric. We kids once rhymed with Derek. Dear wreck sounds heavy with pity, or maybe jaunty love. Slant rhymed perfect. And that's very funny. One time he told me someone kept writing him Crick. He kept writing Dear Crick on emails. I don't know who it might have been, one of us. And he said, I just love it. He said, I'm Crick from now on. You can address me as Crick. I think that's going to be fine. And I was going to end with, that's an early star. So that has helped me there. So I think that's good. That gives Eric a good representation. And we just see there, which are here.